you feel question period serves its purpose?
Oh yes, oh yes. You got to make the both federal and provincial governments accountable for what they're doing.
I don't know. It seems scripted. Everybody's kind of asking the same questions, that sort of thing. But it's there. It's a resource if you want to listen to it.
I feel like a lot of the time, it's usually ends up in a bit of a bickering match, and solutions don't get resolved. I mean, there's a very frequent one with Trudeau on gun violence, and it was just going back and forth, circling around and around and around, and nothing got resolved in that matter.
Honestly, what I've been seeing lately, I don't think it does. Seems like a bunch of grown children just bickering, to me at least. But then again, I'm not a professional, but seems like haven't been accomplishing much, if I had to say.
Well, yeah, that's so-called democracy, right? Parliamentary democracy. You gotta have, you gotta allow the opposition to get up and question the government on stuff. It's just when they get kind of childish and they get extreme, or like anybody, they start acting like children, pounding on the desk and won't let anybody talk, all that kind of stuff. But that's part of, I suppose, I don't like it, but I think that's part of the theater of politics, to get angry and safely have their say there where they can't be prosecuted inside the house, right? I think that's part of it, that freedom. They want that freedom to be able to do that.
On a personal level, as soon as they televised question period, all of a sudden everyone's an actor. So I like meat and potato politicians, and all parties have them.
I think it would serve its purpose if they didn't act like children during question period, and answers were given appropriately and succinctly, as opposed to argumentative back and forth.
And it just seems like questions aren't actually being answered. They're being skirted around from what I've seen. So I can't really, speak to its effectiveness, but I'd say probably not.
Yeah. A lot of the times it just seems like some of these people like the sound of their own voice and not necessarily care about what they're actually talking about.
I believe that it does, because it provides me as a Canadian with information that I can use when I'm deciding what I want to do at election time for voting. But it also gives me information that I can use when I contact my member of parliament.
I think it's a great arena for discussion. I just wish that it was done a little bit more, with a bit more respect. Not shouting and being kind of immature. I think that is not a great look for us on an international stage. But I think overall the discussion needs to happen, and that's where it should happen.
The trouble is I only see clips online when things get escalated and heated on the floor of the House of Commons. I feel like there are probably a lot of portions that are more substantive that just don't get airtime and that we don't end up seeing on the news.
For the value of sharing ideas, yes, it's valid. For the value of actually getting policy changed, a policy moved, it's a little lacking and needs a little bit of a revamp.
I think it has a lot of value, especially because, that's the whole point of having an opposition. We currently have a minority government, and it's important that, we see this collaboration, and that there's a lot of things they're not going to agree on, and that they have to make concessions if they want to represent the majority of Canadians. So at the very least, it's important that, because that's a time when a lot of backbenchers or smaller MPs will get a chance to make their voices heard, and I think that's really crucial.
Well, absolutely. I think just communication in general serves its purpose. So whether it's whether you're going in the right direction or whether you're opposites, I think it can only bring good. And I do think that it is somewhat necessary.
The question period seems to be a free-for-all that has people shouting and contradicting each other. It originally was supposed to be for a good purpose, but I'm afraid it's getting a little bit out of hand.
Well, if it does end up being productive, then I think that's a good thing. And even if it isn't, it's good to talk about problems. And so even if it isn't resolved immediately, at least it's brought up so that people do end up thinking about it.
No.
Why not?
There's too much of selfish, in my opinion. Some of the politicians are trying to glorify themselves, and the needs of the citizens come second. And sometimes I think there's no honesty. There's not enough honesty and truthfulness in some of our politicians on all sides.
No.
Why not?
Because I just don't think it really matters if nobody's going to take the time to ask the questions that actually matter. or moreover, just use that time to voice their opinions, just to have it out there, but to not have it be addressed at all. So I don't see any point.
No, I feel like there's just a lot of like avoiding actually answering the question and trying to just get sound bites from both sides, and it's kind of lost its meaning.
Well, I think it challenges the Prime Minister and the party, but I think it's a whole bunch of posing, and it's trying to show that I'm doing my stuff and I'm going to try and challenge you, and it's not necessarily constructive in what it's doing.
It depends, because I've seen a lot of Parliament. It turns into more like accusations. It's not as fruitful in debates. It's more just accusing one or the other. It doesn't really help.